This is Vigilant Liberty Radio News from Independent Journal Review for January 21st. In a State of the Union speech Tuesday evening, President Obama laid out plans for a $300 billion tax increase, including raising the capital gains tax to 28%, increasing the inheritance tax to 60%, a quote bank tax that will be passed on to consumers, taxing 529 college plans, capping IRA retirement savings, mandating employers with more than 10 employees offer retirement plans. The president's plan is unlikely to pass the House and Senate. Former governor and potential 2016 presidential candidate Mitt Romney posted a message to Facebook in which he said of Obama, "He is more intent on winning elections than on winning progress. He ignores the fact that the country has elected a Congress that favors smaller government and lower taxes. Rather than bridging the gap between the parties, he makes bridge-to-nowhere proposals." Freshman Senator Joni Ernst of Iowa delivered the GOP rebuttal to the President's State of the Union address. News reports have surfaced that at least 50 law enforcement agencies, including the FBI and U.S. Marshals Service, in the United States have been using a handheld radar device that can scan inside buildings, including private homes. This device can do something others can't: create 3D images of interiors, map interiors, and function while mounted on a drone. It can detect motion on the other side of walls as well. Judges hearing an appeals case expressed grave concerns about its use, noting it poses a threat to the Fourth Amendment, and the ACLU's Christopher Sogan said, "Technologies that allow the police to look inside of a home are among the intrusive tools that police have." Kurdish fighters have captured Mishenter Hill, an observation point that overlooks the town of Kobani on the Turkey-Syria border. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights estimate Kurdish forces have reclaimed a majority of the city from ISIS, especially during the last 7 weeks. Kurds now have a view of a main ISIS resupply route, and this will allow Kurds to put the pressure on the jihadist militants in accompaniment with U.S.-led airstrikes. Just this past weekend, 11 airstrikes took place near Kobani, forcing ISIS fighters to retreat. And the U.S. government spent $76 billion on the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, to cover the cost of food for about 46.5 million people, or approximately 1/6 of the country. This number hasn't changed much since last year, and the number has nearly doubled since 2007. The top 5 locations with the most people currently enrolled in SNAP are Oregon, West Virginia, New Mexico, Mississippi, and coming in at number 1 is the District of Columbia. The total number of people receiving food stamps is projected to fall over the next 2 years, and under pending federal cuts, an estimated 1 million people will begin losing food stamp benefits this fall. This has been Amy Curtis with your Vigilant Liberty Radio News from Independent Journal Review for January 21st.
VLR.
This show is produced by IJReview.com.
This show is copyright by VLR Media. All opinions of panelists and guests are their own and may not reflect the opinion of VLR Media, the host, or anyone else.
Let's be clear. Now let's be clear. Now let's be clear. There are no winners here. Now let's be clear. Now let's be clear. Now let's be clear. There are no winners here.
Two minds are better than one. Time for the Right Mics with Mike Miller and Michael Hausum.
Happy Wednesday, America. And yes, this is the Right Mics with Mike Miller and Michael Hausum. Obviously, we got to talk about State of the Union today. We will do a fair amount of that. If you want to join in the discussion, we are 412-567-6879. You can tweet us at The Right Mics. Howsam dutifully follows and relates the comments to me because I don't. You can listen to us live on our website, therightmics.us, or on Spreaker as well. All right, so Howsam, obviously you listened to it last night, right?
You know what, man? I did not do the whole hour. I've read the transcript, I've watched bits and pieces, but I just couldn't do it, man.
Actually, I mentioned that I might have to get liquored up to be able to contain myself. I did not do that. I did watch. Didn't even have to bite on a rag or anything. But listen, let me tell you, before we get into the content and so forth, three things struck me almost immediately when I started watching.
Okay.
Okay, first of all, I'm guessing there is a single feed to the networks. I can't imagine that every network on the planet has cameras in there. It wouldn't work. Now they had at least two cameras. They had one from an angle, excuse me, I'm gonna stop doing that, and one from straight on. So the first thing I noticed, the camera angle was behind the Democrats. So when it was a long shot and they would stand and applaud, it was as if the whole chamber was applauding. Now, if you looked carefully in the background over their heads, you saw most of the time Republicans sitting on their hands. Okay, and then the other camera angle was straight on, but it was used for close-ups. So let me try to describe this. I mean, you have obviously from a straight-on view, you have the Democrats on the left and the Republicans on the right. As you see it, but there's this ring of I don't know how many seats, kind of. That goes across both sections, that directly in front of the podium, right? So when they would do a close-up of him, those would be the only people you would see. And again, it would appear that both sides of the aisle, if you will, were standing and applauding because the president, regardless of whom he is, packs those seats with whom he wants to pack them. So that was the first thing I noticed. All right?
Okay.
Second thing, you would have thought, I mean, if you just parachuted into this country and you had no idea who he is, what has been going on here, you'd have thought that we're living in this unbelievable new Obama world that he created. I mean, all's well abroad, all's well at home. We've turned the page, right? I mean, it was almost surrealistic.
Yeah, I mean,
it really was. And then finally, and this is somewhat related, dude is up there as if he's newly elected. This is his first State of the Union address. He's rolled up his sleeves. He's going to undo everything over the last 8 years that the stupid rancher from Texas made happen. Instead of being 6 years into his own presidency, after getting his ass handed to him last November, Democrats being thoroughly thrashed because of his policies. But, it's like he doesn't even stop for a minute to think, all of this grandiose crap that I'm talking about. Dude, I've been in office for 6 years, and why didn't I get this done before?
Right. Well, it's the other thing I noticed about it is I was trying to count how many straw men he set up and absolutely tore down aggressively.
What was your count?
I'm at like 7. In fact, I'm gonna. It's probably not gonna be IJR worthy, but I'm gonna do maybe for town hall. How many straw men did he set up? I mean, the number of positions that he just absolutely shreds and attacks. I'm not sure anybody on the planet Earth holds them.
Oh no, and he's an expert at that. We did hear a new liberal buzz phrase.
Right.
Middle class economics.
Yes, I am not. He gave a definition of what middle class economics are, because apparently middle class economics work.
Or they polled the buzz phrase and found out that it sells well.
Well, that's exactly what it is. I mean, isn't isn't most of isn't most of the speech phrases that they've decided will poll well? I mean, isn't that most of everything?
That started, big time in the Bill Clinton administration. But that's exactly right. I mean, they do focus groups and, excuse me, phone polls and everything else. What do you want to bet? All right, let's go out on a limb here, wink, wink, that we're going to hear this from the lemming Democrats constantly now, all the way up to 2016. Middle class economics.
Right. Economics that are specifically designed, specifically managed and controlled to help the middle class. Although, on the other hand, Mike, he did say everybody should play by the same rules. So I'm not sure how those two things go together.
Well, no, and if everybody did play, were allowed, if you will, to play by the same rules, that would be true equality, wouldn't it? The same tax rules. You and I got into the weeds a little bit yesterday on the tax thing, and I want to talk a little bit about maybe we do that in a second half hour or whatever. But sure, why should certain groups be overly taxed when other groups pay no income tax, and on top of that, get tax refunds? How the hell do you get a federal tax refund when you don't pay any federal taxes? So sure, I mean, it should be fair. But to see fairness to Democrats, to liberals, does not mean the same thing that fairness means to Merriam-Webster.
Because no. Well, that's the deal, is that you almost need, and any kind of these speeches, and frankly, the Republicans are guilty of this sometimes. In any kind of these speeches, you need a political speak to real world language dictionary in order to help you understand. When he says everybody should play by the same rules, what he means is that everybody should end the fourth period with roughly the same stats.
Exactly. It's about liberalism is not about equal opportunity. It's about as equal results as they can make happen.
Yeah. The thing that I just so enjoy that, obviously it's been a thing for a few years, is to just go through, is just to sit on Twitter and watch the things that people have to say about it. Because it's just, people are so funny, man. And it's an instant response. It's like you can be sitting, it's like you're watching the State of the Union speech with all the people that you respect their opinions or you find them to be hilarious, just sitting in your own living room. You know what I mean?
Oh, exactly. And this thing, I put this post up on IJR earlier this morning, and we can maybe get later to the actual chart that posted, because the original I guess intent of the post was to, with the headline, this simple chart shows the chances of Obama's State of the Union proposals becoming law. And I put a chart up that goes back 50 years and shows, results of various presidents. But the State of the Union speech, and again, to be fair, regardless of which party controls the White House, it's this kind of, this annual, I don't want to call it a charade. It's almost like this pomp and circumstance thing. The president comes in, the whoever the guy is, sergeant at arms, and introduces him. Everybody goes wild. But by the way, I don't know if you paid much attention to. I don't know if maybe you weren't even watching at that time, but I've talked about this in the past a little bit. But Sheila Jackson Lee is one of those people who is always on that front seat, if you will, or the seat where he walks in, then he kisses the women and shakes hands and all, whatever have you. They, the new Congress, Republican Congress, changed the rules. You used to be able to placehold. So Sheila Jackson Lee could go there, I don't know, a day before and put her purse or, a note that says, the Republicans said that can't happen this year. So Sheila Jackson Lee, some other Democrats, sat there for hours. It's as if they were in line at the Apple store to buy the newest iPhone. I think that stuff is hilarious. So anyway, they come in, they're cheered, they go to the podium, and then the Speaker of the House introduces